John Pope, Fire Chief in Collins and the president of the Mississippi Fire Association, and I would assume one of the most tired people in the state right now.
I tell you what, the firefighters of the state of Mississippi are worn down.
Exhausted.
It has been exhausting last 2 or 3 months specifically, but hopefully, as Commissioner Gibson said earlier, everybody keep praying for the rain, and we can hope that we get some rain and can have some of these fires to subside.
At least in South Mississippi and Southeast Mississippi, going to get some by the end of the week with that system moving up. So
that's correct.
That'll help, but the problem is it's been so dry for so long, John, that if you get an inch or two of rain, it's what doesn't sizzle away when it hits is just going to be sucked right down in there, and we're not going to be much better off.
Well, when all the drought conditions has caused so much more additional fuel that's there. So material below the ground level is now dried out as well, so the fire is going to sit there and smolder longer, have a longer chance that it may have a flying brand that could get away. In these wildland fire situations and brush fire situations, ember or burning brand, can travel in wind currents up to a half a mile and still have enough heat to it to be able to ignite in another location. So that's what we see is some of these fires that the fire departments and the Forestry Commission, and hats off to those folks. Mississippi has generally been a state that has been sending firefighters out of state to assist, and we've actually had fellow Forestry Commission agencies from other states that have sent resources in to Mississippi, specifically in the south and southwest part of the state. And the Forestry Commission and our firefighters as a whole have just been, up against the wall with this. But they continue to serve, but they are pretty weary and worn from the last 2 months.
Well, and I saw when I was out over the weekend, I saw a crew headed to a column of smoke over on the horizon out towards Franklin County High School. I don't think it was at the high school, but it was over in that general direction. And they had the backhoes and everything else to put dirt on it and try to put it out, because most people traditionally in these kind of situations think you show up with a big hose and you hose it down. There's a lot of different ways to fight these things.
There are a lot of different ways that have to be deployed for fighting these fires. It may be that local fire services may be there for structural protection and exposure protection, and the Forestry Commission crews go in with the dozers and tractors, and they're able to go in and plow, do back sets to be able to burn the fire back. So there's a lot of different ways depending on the wind currents and conditions and just the magnitude of the fire. I mean, we have seen fires in the south part of the state that have burned hundreds of acres just on one fire. You look at large fires that were dealt with in Louisiana recently and such, and some of these fires burn for up to over a week. That they're trying to get ahead of them and get control of them. So just, we ask everyone just to please abide by the burn ban. I was telling you earlier before we came on live that I had a gentleman that called every morning about 9:15 to ask if we were still under the burn ban. And I said, yes, sir, we are. He said, well, how long do you think we'll be under it? And I said, we'll be under it until we're not under it anymore. We have to get suitable amounts of rain to be able to bring conditions safely. And most of the public abides by that. There are still those that will attempt to burn. They think, just as you brought up, someone said, well, it's just a little small pile or a little fire pit that I want to burn some limbs or leaves and such. It only takes that one stray brand or ember to jump across and cause countless dollars worth of damage, or could burn structures, or could cost someone their life. And also, too, is if someone is carelessly burning, if they go out and they violate the burn ban, and fire services respond to that because of a careless act, that's taking a delay and causing a delay for those services to be able to get to another emergency. Maybe someone has had a motor vehicle accident and trapped in a car. There's a home fire, etc. So that does deplete these resources. And two, we're dealing with a shortage of firefighters in the state of Mississippi. We just were talking a few weeks ago at a meeting, with these new recruitment and retention program that we're working with, trying to increase these numbers of firefighters in the state. And when you're dealing with depleted numbers of personnel to respond, it really taxes the resources that you have that are already very small. So we just ask people to please, be mindful and just abide by the burn ban. It can wait. It can wait. Leave those there, and when it's safe and it's relieved, then look at doing such.
I will put it this way, because I'm not as nice as John. You know this by now. This is not news to anybody. Nobody cares about your stupid limb pile but you. Nobody. Nobody cares. It's not that big of a deal. It can sit there until we have had a good bit of rain. I'll tell you, to me, a good rule of thumb of when you can burn your burn pile. When you have to wait for it to dry out enough to catch fire. Then you're good to go, probably. But you still need to check on the burn ban.
That's right. Exactly.
See, you're being all nice and professional, and I'm like, don't be stupid, because that just is how it strikes me.
Well, and people, I think they don't have any excuse to not be aware that the burn ban's in place. It has been publicized, so heavily. We put posts out on our Facebook page on a daily basis, sometimes multiple times a day. So it's been out there, so people have no reason not to know.
And, I got the question a week or two ago, because I've been talking about this for a while on a very regular basis. And somebody asked me, said, why are you still talking about it? Everybody knows. No, they don't. You were giving me some numbers about the number of fires. Yeah, excess number of fires.
Yeah, just in our area and just in our county. I'm looking at numbers that the fire service departments in our county responded to over 150 to 200 or more additional fires just during that time frame period.
Above what they normally
would have.
Yeah.
And those are all woods or brush type fires or trash fires. So, that's just one part of the state. We're talking about everything, even it was originally, it was like I-20 South. Now it's further north than that that's dealing with it. As the commissioner talked about the drought index. I mean, we haven't seen drought levels like this since the late 80s. So it's definitely it's a different beast that we're dealing with right now. And we just pray that we can get some rain to get some relief for the fires, get relief for our farmers, and get relief for our firefighters.
Well, and again, I could be wrong, but I suspect it's going to take more than just one little dose of rain to fix this. Just because it rains doesn't mean the burn ban is lifted, doesn't mean you're clear to go burn. Wait until you hear the official word. And the other tricky part to me about that is you have burn bans issued by the state. You have burn bans issued by the counties. The state one could be lifted. You could still have one in your county, though, right?
That's correct. The counties can apply for burn bans through the Forestry Commission. The Forestry Commission reviews it, and then they'll approve or disapprove. But the one we're under now is under a state burn ban. It was issued and approved by the governor and the Forestry Commission. So that's no exceptions to that one. But after the state ban is lifted, the local counties can choose to still stay under a burn ban, and if approved by the Forestry Commission, it can remain. And you have a lot of areas that, in municipalities that they do not allow any open burning anytime. So they're basically, there's no permitted burning. So each location can be different even after the statewide burn ban's lifted.
Basically, don't assume. Just because we get some good rain doesn't mean everything's good to go. It depends on where you're at. It depends on what the local governments have done. The state ban and a county ban might lift at different times. So check.
That's correct.
Before you flick your bic, check. It's not that hard.
And this is Fire Prevention Week, and October is traditionally Fire Prevention Month.
Yeah, perfect timing.
This year the topic for Fire Prevention Week through NFPA was specifically dealing with cooking fires, and those were as a leading cause of fires in the home and leading cause of fire deaths. And so we take this time to remind people just to be alert, practice fire prevention, be sure of all the things that you can do to prevent fires in your home and otherwise.
And while you've got your mind on fire, I know you're supposed to do it when the clocks change in a few weeks, but go ahead and check your smoke alarms.
That's right. Check your smoke alarms. When you fall back and spring forward is the perfect time to change the batteries in your smoke alarms. And if you don't have smoke alarms, you can reach out to your local fire department. There are smoke alarms that are available through a gracious grant that the State Fire Marshal's Office received, and contact your local fire department about getting operable smoke alarms in your home. Very important piece of equipment to have that could save your life or the life of a loved one.
Well, can you hang on for a minute?
Yes, please.
Fantastic. John Pope, president of the Mississippi Fire Association, Collins Fire Chief, and has put a lot of miles in over the last couple of months. I can tell you that right now. We'll continue talking with him on middays live in the Element Wealth Studios. Dave Hughes here, John Pope, said president in studio with us, Collins Fire Chief. We were talking about a lot of stuff during the break. We covered everything, I think, before it was over with, so we're done. Oh, wait, no, they didn't get to hear it, so we need to talk about it now here. We do have, Fire Prevention Week, Fire Prevention Month going on. We've talked about that, the burn ban. But there is one thing that I want to make sure that we focus on, and we were talking about this in regards to legislative action, and that's the fact that we have a ton of people that are volunteer fire people that will be dead asleep out to dinner with their family in the middle of, a family event, something, anything, and that alarm goes off and they drop their life to go get in their truck, beat it down to the station, get in a fire truck and come out and save your house, save people's lives, not for pay.
That's correct.
But because it's the right thing to do and somebody has to do it. As a result, it's very important that the volunteer fire departments get every last possible penny of funding they can get.
That's correct. And we've in the years that I've been president of the Firefighters Association, this will be my 12th year coming up, 6 terms, we've worked with the legislature to secure additional funding for the fire service as a whole, specific funding for the volunteer fire service. Most recently this past session, with the help of both the House and the Senate, we were able to secure the funding for the LOSAP bill, the Length of Service Award Program, which will provide, so to speak, a service benefit for our volunteers for the number of years of service. Each year they receive a financial annuity added into a fund, and they could draw that after a certain amount of time. And we believe that's definitely going to be a tool we can use for recruitment and retention. But when you're dealing in the state of Mississippi and in the U.S. abroad, over 70 to 75% of the fire service is volunteer. Not every community can be supported or served by a paid or a career fire department. Many communities are operating on very small tax bases. They don't have the financial means to be able to have that. So the volunteer fire department steps up and serves that community. And our volunteers throughout the state of Mississippi and throughout the U.S. do an outstanding job. Each and every day, we have men and women who step up to serve their local communities, not for a paycheck, not for a pat on the back, just because, as you said, it was the right thing to do. They want to step up and serve their fellow man. And I used in a conversation years ago, was going to talk with the community about garnering more support for their fire department. I said, what if there was a fire and there was nobody to show up? What if there wasn't a volunteer fire department in your community? And that's what is suffering many communities is the lack of volunteerism. Now, everyone has a lot more things vying for their time. Our children are busier. Our work lives are busier. But we still have got to have those services in these communities. And we hope that through the LOSAP program that we can see the volunteer numbers increased and see that bolstered, and that we can say thank you to those that are serving. We hope that it brings more in. Dealing with the legislature, we've had a lot of victories. And we've had some defeats. That's just the way it is. You're not going to get everything you ask for. We try to have strong, tangible evidence and facts to support what we ask for. One thing that specifically is going to be asked for in the coming session is trying to see about increasing the fire insurance rebate funds. That's something that the Commissioner of Insurance, the Department of Insurance has tried to work on and working on, and we want to see that because those dollars support all communities of the state of Mississippi. Every county, every city, every small town, every small community, they all benefit from those. And that, in turn, helps to support the fire service. You were just talking about cost of fire apparatus. When I first got in the fire service 26 years ago, a fire truck fully equipped for a basic commercial pumper with everything on it you needed to fight fire, $175,000.
That'll buy 2 tires now.
Exactly. And so now you're talking about that same truck on a commercial chassis being upwards of $500,000. A custom cab truck, $700,000 to $900,000, and a ladder truck over $1.5 million. And it's not a bunch of bells and whistles. That's just the bare bones of what's needed to be able to protect the community and keep the firefighters safe as they respond to these. So the cost is exponential, and it's continuing to grow. We're dealing with it across the board on everything that we deal with.
And here's the problem with waiting and talking about it to make sure. From the time you sign off on it and say, yes, we are ordering this fire truck until it is delivered, about how long is it?
Right now, 2 years.
Right.
2 years.
So if you would like to have a fire truck to put the fires out in 2025, you better get on it right now. That's why you can't kick this can down the road. The can's already 2 years down the road before you draw your foot back. So you have to get started now.
Well, it's it's a cost thing. As it goes, costs are going to increase. Mm-hmm. Everything has gone up. We know that everything with supply chain and everything has gone up in delays. But we just want to be able to see funding available to the fire services, both on the volunteer and the career side, that everyone can be protected. As we talked about with the legislature, years ago, we were able to get an increase on the line of duty death benefit for our firefighters and law enforcement officers who lose their lives in the line of duty, funds to be able to provide to those families and loved ones left behind to support them. And it was increased from $60,000 to $100,000. It was back in 2013. We fought that battle for about 2.5 years to try to get that, and we secured that with some help of some great supporters in the legislature on both sides. Tomorrow, we will be honoring our fallen heroes in the state of Mississippi for the Mississippi Fallen Firefighters Memorial. It'll be on the grounds of the State Fire Academy tomorrow morning. And at that service, we will be adding 2 additional names to the memorial wall. The memorial wall was constructed and established in 2005 by the Mississippi Firefighters Association. We saw a need to have a location to where we could honor the memory of those men and women who have gone before us and paid the ultimate sacrifice. 122 names on that wall now since 1885. Fire service heroes, men and women who served their local communities, stepped up and said, "Send me, I'll go," and ultimately paid the ultimate sacrifice. We'll add names tomorrow. Jesse Lee Hunter, who passed away in 2021. It was a COVID line of duty death. And then Philip Allen. Philip was a firefighter with the McGee and Seminary Volunteer Fire Departments and lost his life tragically while responding and operating on a motor vehicle accident on Highway 49 in Covington County. Philip was a close personal friend. Knew Philip for over 20-plus years. A lot of the names on that wall that have been added in recent years, I knew personally or had personal contacts with them. Our department has a line of duty death, Chief Jerry Drennan, that passed away in 1990 after a structure fire incident. So for us, tomorrow is an important day that we honor and memorialize them, but we remind those families of those that have, those firefighters that have passed, that we hadn't forgot about them. And we'll never forget about them. We continue to remember them and lift them up in our thoughts and prayers. But tomorrow is a day that we'll join at the State Fire Academy to honor those. And there's no more fitting a location for that memorial than on the grounds of the Mississippi State Fire Academy, where so many Mississippi firefighters get their beginning in the fire service.
You talk about when you go to the legislature, you want to have facts. You give them facts, which is the only way you can deal with this. Again, in my usual way, I'm going to try to help as much as I can here because we have legislators that listen. Here's a fact. These people will run into your burning house and save your child's life for free. I eagerly await your rebuttal. What's the argument there?
Well, Representative Donnie Scoggins from Jones County had a home fire at his home. It was prior to a session. And he talked about countless times. He was a a big force in pushing for the LoSAP bill to help us to get that started and bringing that out. And he talked about, watching those firefighters respond to a fire at his home. So he saw it firsthand, and countless other ones have told us stories of that. And several members of the legislature have been firefighters.
And they know.
And so they know, and they step up to support the cause. And we do get very good support from the legislature and the leadership. And we try to, if they ask for information, we provide that information to them. We don't come in without being educated. We want to be respectful of them and them be respectful of us. And so if we have a need, we can justify it and present it. Generally, they have positive things to try to support us in that, and we appreciate that.
And we just need all the support and more.
Indeed. And we just ask everyone to, turn their attention to fire prevention throughout this week and this month, and always be fire safe and be mindful and just keep them and their families safe.
It all boils down to my golden rule of life. Don't be stupid. If you can follow that one rule, Darren and Jackson and your flamethrower, if you can just follow that one rule, we'll all be happier.
Indeed.
And John can take a nap, finally. He last had a nap in April. He's due. I appreciate you, and thank you so much to you and all your folks for everything that you're doing to keep the entire state from burning down, which has been a risk for a couple of months now.
Well, we appreciate the strong support from all the SuperTalk family, and appreciate your support. And, specifically this show, our good friend JT was always